May edit this. This isn't like live on TV, right?
No, yeah, it just goes into a file or something. I don't know.
They don't even. Do they put it on?
I'm not sure what they do with them. I know the
fine.
select board ones and stuff they put up on the LCTV, but I'm not sure about ours.
All right. So I will call this meeting to order. Today is the 26th Wednesday of September, 6 o'clock here, and we're meeting the Recreation Committee. We'll just start by going around real quick with introductions for anybody watching at home of the committee members. We'll start with Raymond.
Raymond Tompkins.
Kelly Burton.
Karen Rowan.
Jim Lutney.
Marcus Benner.
And Troy Smith. So, not seeing any citizens. I didn't know if there's any citizens correspondence that you wanted to share with us, Marcus?
Nope. No.
Okay. And we'll jump to the third agenda item, quickly as that, being the Recreation Director's report.
So the senior trip, we decided to go to the Maine Maritime Museum. They're going to do the Taste of Maine for lunch, and Pemaquid Point Lighthouse on the way home. That's free to any Waldoboro senior citizen. They just have to call, and I'll get them a seat. It's open to non-residents. The fee is $20, and that's on a space available basis. But right now we've only filled 30 of the 55 seats, and we've got a little less than a week left of registrations before I have to cap it, so I can let the Taste of Maine know.
What
And
was the date again?
October 9th.
October
October
9th, yep. So October 2nd, I'm gonna close registration so I can let the museum, the restaurant, and the lighthouse know how many people are coming.
And what would they need to do to register for that?
Just call the office, 832-5369,
Okay.
and let me know. Or email me, any way they can get a hold of me and just say, this is my name, this is my phone number, I'm a resident, I'm a non-resident, whatever.
Okay.
I wanna go on the trip. Youth soccer's off and running. This year we have 8 K2 teams that have 60 kids in the kindergarten through second grade age group, which is up quite a bit from last year. Last year we had 6 teams, and I don't think those were as full as the ones we have this year. So that's good. We have 3 third, fourth teams that have 35 kids, which is right on par with what we had last year.
How many kids? I'm sorry.
35. And we have 1 5th and 6th girls team that has 17 girls, which is up a little bit from last year. And a 5th and 6th boys team that has 15 boys, which is up 4, which is a significant amount.
So all of these groups are increased for last year?
Yeah, outside of the 3rd, 4th, which is pretty close to the same.
Okay.
So it's a total of 127 kids in youth soccer. The K2 program runs on Saturday mornings from 9 to 10:30. They do some skills and drills and some mini game stuff. And then the 3rd and 4th teams, they usually practice once a week, and then they'll have like a weekday game or a weekend game. And there's 3 Waldoboro teams, 3 Warren teams, and a Washington team. So they play in amongst themselves. The 5th, 6th girls, they play in the Mid-Coast League. There's 6 girls teams in the Mid-Coast League between Waldoboro, Warren, Cushing, Thomaston, Rockland, and St. George. And the boys play in the same league, and there's 7 teams. There's a Rockport co-ed team that plays in that league. And two Thomaston teams instead of the Cushing.
The teams, I'm sorry, for the K through 2, what did you say? There were 3 Waldoboro, 3 Washington?
Oh, that's 3rd, 4th.
I'm sorry, okay, that's...
Yeah. Oh, there's 8 kindergarten through 1st and 2nd teams, and they're all Waldoboro.
Okay. And the 3rd and 4th grade were...
All Waldoboro, but there's 3 Waldoboro teams, and then they play.
Okay. That's...
They play Warren and Washington.
Gotcha, okay.
You have 127 registered this year. What was it last year? You said each one was significant. You said.
Yeah, I didn't look at last year's numbers. I probably have it on my computer somewhere. It's but
Overall, I would probably say they're up a little bit just based
Yeah.
on your K through 2 success.
yeah, I mean we're probably up 10 to 20 kids, which
Yeah.
out of 100 is it's a big increase.
12% or whatever.
Yep. There's the kindergarten class in general. There's right around the same 1st and 2nd graders. The kindergarten class had 4 teams themselves. They have
Wow.
27 kindergartners and 32 first and second graders. So the kindergartners almost equal the first and second graders put together.
So that'll go on right up through.
I hope so. They keep playing some soccer.
Always a hope, yeah.
Yeah.
So, co-ed softball season is wrapping up. This weekend is the playoffs. So that'll start Saturday. They'll play all day Saturday and end Sunday. It's a double elimination tournament. 11 teams. They had a 12-game season that they're wrapping up. And we'll have a meeting tomorrow night with all the coaches to kind of go over the playoffs and get some final scores in and just kind of get everything in order for playoff weekend.
How many players did you have this year? A guesstimate.
There's 11 teams, and every team, I have one team that has like 11 or 12. The rest are all right around 15, so 15 times 11, I mean, yeah, looking at 160, 70,
Yeah.
160, 70 adults.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
And that's Waldeboro and surrounding area?
Yeah, it's just surrounding area. A lot of, I think there's one player that's from like Belfast, like travels down here every day. Northport, I think.
Goodness.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, not every day, but whenever
Right,
he plays.
right.
Yeah. The Funtown Splashtown discount ticket program is done for the year. We sold 421 tickets this year, and we get to keep $1 of that from each ticket sale. So the department made $421 off the discount tickets. I ordered 500, so I just had to send the 79 back. That's no cost to the department. Last year we sold all 500, so sales were down a little bit. I don't really know why that was, but
That money that you made off the ticket sales, does that go into the account that you mentioned to us at the last meeting?
yeah, the
It's
rec, like an enterprise.
Yeah,
is what we
enterprise,
call
that was it.
Yeah.
Thank you, okay.
Pays for small stuff the department does, like T-shirts and stuff like that. And then planning is underway to fix the backstop at Sukeforth Field. The frost has kind of lifted it up a little bit, so we talked about it all year, but the ground is softening up a little bit where they can get in there. So hopefully that'll happen sometime this fall.
Which field?
Sukeforth, it's at the Waldeboro Rec Complex. That's pretty much all I have.
The cost on that?
No, actually, Tony Lash has agreed to donate some of his time and the use of his small excavator.
Okay.
I'm not sure what else they'll need to fix it properly, but
Yeah.
We're being broadcast.
Great.
Yep.
So, obviously the next item on our agenda, item 4, is to approve the meeting minutes from 8/29, which I didn't see any corrections that I saw, but does anybody have any adjustments or anything that they'd like to change on those minutes from last? Does everybody need a moment to read those, or are we all set?
I didn't see anything when I went the other day, so.
Alright. So I just need a motion on the floor to approve the minutes as stated.
Approved.
Second it.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Those minutes are approved. Discuss our charge, going back to old business. Obviously, the last meeting, we spent a lot of time, getting familiar with what the recreation department is, and what the charge was from the select board. And again, I don't know if you want to go over that again, Marcus, but
yeah, when we decided to make this committee, the first thing they wanted us to look at was the feasibility and desire for a recreation center in Waldeboro.
right. And then when we left that, or we talked about that, obviously that led to quite a bit of discussion, and we kind of try to familiarize people that are either somewhat new to the community, that this has been an ongoing project or desire for a large part of my existence here in town, to build something like that. I know the 80 Gray complex is a complex, some view where it should be, some where it shouldn't be. Use that building, not use that building, and I think that's kind of part of the pronged attack that we need to kind of dissect of if there is a recreation center, where would that be? What would it look like? And such, you know, and I think we left the last meeting kind of doing a little bit of homework on, you know, trying to find some other communities that have done so. I know Jim shared from the, forgetting the group here, from the Madomic Valley Community Foundation, the last survey that went out, as well as I have the results here from that, if you guys didn't have a chance to take a look at that. I can pass those around. Unfortunately, I didn't make copies of the actual survey, but the questions are on the top. I have a version also with which states. So you can see that they obviously put quite a bit of thought into, you know, and a lot of the discussion was with the 80 Gray School and some broader questions. But obviously a pretty usable tool. But Jim, can you remember what year this probably was roughly?
This was like probably 2015/16.
Oh, so it's not that old.
No, this isn't that old.
Okay.
Well, part of it was there on the Madomic Valley Community Foundation, there's some people on the committee that really want to try to do something with 80 Gray. They wanted to rehab it potentially. You know, there's some sentiment about it being the old Waldeboro High School, this, that, whatever. And the reality is, from my perspective, is that, you know, I think it's time to kind of just put it aside. If someone's going to come in and buy it and do something with it, wonderful. Or from a site location, it would be nice because it's fairly central to downtown. But I think that window was passed a while ago. I mean, I taught there over 35, 40 years ago, and it was shaky then. And there's nothing been done to it of any significance. And it really isn't set up in a manner that is accommodating for a lot of things. I mean, you have I don't know if you've been in there, the gymnasium is below ground level. Anytime there was a rainstorm of any significance, it would, you know, fill. I mean, it's just, there's a ledge underneath the stage, and there's a lot of stuff.
Where the stage used to be.
Where the stage used to be. My personal opinion is that I think the site is great, you know, because you have access to the ball fields, you have rehab the tennis. There are some things that could work out real well. You know, starting with a clean piece of paper, things usually go a little better. Trying to rehab, you end up opening up a can of worms that you're chasing your tail. You're spending a lot of money and time and effort to try to, you know, it's like the Dutch boy putting his finger on the dike. It's just one thing after another after another.
And codes have changed.
And codes have changed
since it was
dramatically.
built.
Yes.
And, you know, ADA, I mean, you know, you have to have the ability to, you know, provide access or accessibility. So, and again, this particular survey, I think, you know, it does kind of give an overview. I think the thing, it's one thing to say that, yes, we'd like to be able to do this, but there is a cost with it. You know, and this was more centered around 80 Gray, but it still gives you some background on how people feel. Now, this was also shortly after, or around the same time as the YMCA was thinking about coming over. And then that all went by the wayside.
Yep.
So, you know, to be honest with you, I mean, I think there's good information here.
Well, especially
evening.
the questions 8 through 14, where they
Right.
talk about what they'd like the facility to include. That-
Include,
Exactly,
absolutely.
that indicates what kinds of
Right.
recreation activities they'd like to
Activities.
be available.
Right. So, I mean, there's some good basic information. The key thing is, you know, how do we raise the money for it? Or are the people of the community, if they really are gung-ho, which I don't know if they are. And what's the best approach to
Right.
going forward? Because it's gonna be a cost at some point.
Do you know how the survey was distributed?
Some of it, I think we, if I remember correctly, we mailed out,
Send out, I think
We
it
sent
said.
it out.
Sent out.
Yeah.
and then we got, you know, a decent response. You know, you gotta remember, you got roughly, what, 5,000 people in town?
2,600 surveys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I just wondered how they were sent by mail?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I think this was end 2016, started 2017.
This was-
Yeah, it's,
Because I was just hired and they were
we
talking.
were playing around with it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know, well,
Yeah.
one year kinda flows into another. I haven't seen this stuff for a while. I saw the questions, but I haven't seen.
Yeah, so I have like the detailed, like how each questions, like she said, there's 2,600 surveys printed, 100 that were of uncirculated surveys, and 199 surveys that were returned, so that's like 10%.
Yeah,
A little bit less than.
A little less
a
than.
little less than
A little
10%.
less than 8%, yeah. So, you know, obviously, I don't know what the standard nationally is for return surveys to the mail. I think, you know, looking forward to the future, it's determining. I think, like Jim said, there needs to be some sort of cost associated to be shared, or a range of costs that one would be willing to either absorb or think would be adequate, you know, for the town to build a recreation center or rehab a recreation, regardless of which option made sense. I don't disagree with you at all about, you know, rehabbing a building and the hidden costs, or maybe not making,
Sorry.
no, that's fine. Making all the proper adjustments to a building to try to fit your needs, you know, and I don't think that's 100% of everything that we were charged, but I think obviously that's coming up to the select board, is to try to figure out what do we do with 80 Gray, and, you know, should we hold on to 80 Gray to make it a recreation center, or should it be raised, you know, to put something there, should it be sold? You know, there's a variety of questions that obviously, but they want to make sure that the recreation committee has at least vetted the idea of holding it in that building or on those grounds, you know, so there's one thing. So obviously to do that would be to create some, I'd hate to say almost another survey that kind of details some of those, but would have maybe either operational numbers or numbers, or how we would finance it, or different venues. I'm not 100% sure. I've looked online, there's a variety of different communities throughout the country that have done this. You brought in from Gunnison City Council that you're familiar with. Again, a lot of these communities, it takes a couple times to get through the importance of it and to get down to the details. I think finding some sort of online survey tool would also be a benefit for a lot of people, so you could try to get that.
Or like one of those monkey surveys.
Yes, Survey Monkey, or whatever is out
Survey
there,
Monkey.
so you get more than an 8% return on there.
Yeah, they got more here.
So the other thing, you know, obviously, we talked about before is, you know, there's multiple facets to it. So I like the charge from the select board, but it's also like, okay, well, how do we dig down to the core of exactly what we want to find out?
Where do we stand right now? I know that, was it Max
Yep.
that was here? He mentioned that there was some interest by maybe possibly one or two.
Yeah, I haven't really
People-
heard anything since that
We haven't
meeting.
any kind of an update there.
Yeah, no update.
So I want to make sure that I understand. Is the board looking to us to advise whether or not we think it would be efficient, feasible, too expensive to put this in AD Gray? Is that what they're looking at us for?
I think it's, you know,
It's more open than that.
I think it's twofold or multi-pronged. Like, one is there really a true appetite, and what would that appetite look like for a recreation center?
Anywhere,
Yeah,
anywhere.
anywhere.
Okay.
Right.
Boom, is there, we're gonna, you know, and then two, in that appetite, is there and would there be a benefit of rehabbing a building like 80 Gray that the town already owns, repurposing it and reusing it? Or would it not be financially viable or usable? You know, those are the other things that I think are barriers or things that would have to be investigated to make a informed decision besides saying, oh, we got this building, let's try to make it work. And you find out, you know,
No.
it's gonna cost just as much and you're not gonna get what you really want.
There's a
Probably
whole
more.
bunch of
Or down the
ancillary
road, that's
problems
right.
with that building.
I think we really need to determine what it is that the town of Waldeboro, and this would benefit the surrounding areas, what their really interest is and what they're really gonna wanna help get behind, whether it's a bond issue or tax increase, whatever it is, but what are the needs or the desires of the people here?
Right.
I mean, this survey was a 4 times attempt in Gunnison, Colorado, and 3 times it failed. 60% said no. Once then they added pool, rec center, ice rink, and trails, then it passed by 60%. And they floated that with a $10 million bond and a 1% increase in sales tax that pays for the mortgage.
And that passed with 60%? So they made it bigger and more expensive, and then everybody was on board.
Well,
If they
they,
got what they want.
Yeah.
they added the ice rink for ice hockey and the walking trails. And
Oh,
that
I think it
was
sounds
the-
fabulous.
That was the
Just,
two things that really were kind of new to the original.
Sure. And just from,
Where
go ahead.
Where does that whole thing stand right now, and is the support as strong as it,
It's built,
I know it's built,
yeah.
but the
Oh.
cost associated with running
Oh,
a
oh.
rink, running a swimming pool, the operating costs are like,
The ice rink is busy.
is it paying for itself, do you think?
Yes, yes. They rent it out and it's doing well.
So,
In fact, they have an outdoor rink and they're trying to figure out if they can pay to refrigerate the outdoor rink because
Yeah,
it's gotten to be slush and they've had to go up to Crested Butte and other places to find a rink. So there's not enough ice but that's a big ice hockey area.
yeah, sure. So, I mean, again, when, I kind of go back to all the different prongs of the attack is, one, from my standpoint is, both obviously as we're all residents, is, one, can you build it, and two, can you sustain it and be affordable? So I just quickly did this yesterday, I think it was, and I'm passing out. I tried to talk to Lisa at Wiscasset, who also has a community center. Their community center consists of. Thank you.
You're laughing.
Main Yankee tax dollars.
Yeah. Well, what was the main Yankee tax dollars?
Yeah.
They're still running it, so
Yeah.
no,
So.
that's-
Yeah.
it's a nice place.
Yeah,
That is.
So they have a community center. The community center consists of pretty much a full-size, high school-sized gym with wooden floor. It has a community room or / senior room that they use that has the ability to be rented out by the half section, full section, with a kitchen. It has a fitness area. It has a swimming lap pool, and it also has a recreational type pool that has like some kid features. So what I supply.
Don't they have pickleball down there also?
Yeah, they do play some pickleball on the tennis court. So,
Okay.
and they do fitness classes. They do a variety of different things. And and for example, that's a town of, from the 2016 census, I think it was 3,000 and change. And on the 2016 census I looked up online, it said Waldeboro had like 5,200 or something around
Yeah.
those lines. So
Very different
so it's
demographics.
so it is smaller, but it's also a town that offers pretty much the same services: police, fire, and a lot of the things that Waldeboro has. But if you look at the two budgets that I kind of prepared, and I took that again from their website, that's kind of the element of concern that I think most taxpayers in the town of Waldeboro are going to be concerned with. So what I did is I kind of highlighted their 2019 budget
Yeah.
in like yellow and blue.
Yeah.
Yellow being like direct costs that are associated to a building, community center, and the light blue, I think, are the ones that are indirect, salaries and such. So if you look at the back, and I gave it all my copies, but you can see the difference
Share- I
between
can
Wal.
share with-
Yeah, no, that's fine.
What's, I'm sorry, what are we comparing? I'm
Here.
confused.
Can I see this?
Yeah.
Thanks. All right. So if you look at it, I know unfortunately viewers at home can't see this, but it's basically a 5-page Excel spreadsheet with all the different variety of costs that are associated in running a recreation department. Currently, you'll see in the yellow costs that I highlighted in just the 2019 as your direct costs to running a building, heat, all that type of stuff.
So at the very end.
Yeah.
Your indirect cost would be the light blue, you know,
Yeah.
which stuff that is already somewhat in our budget at times, and some of the stuff that, depending on what services you actually offered, would be either that percentage or not. So the total of their recreational budget based on those two categories alone, not their grounds or any of the other stuff, is $583,000. Waldeboro's in 2019, the total recreation budget is $82,635. So you can see there's a $500 difference, $500,000.
$500?
Yeah,
$500,000.
$500,000 difference.
Yeah.
However, they also projected, you know, since they've been up and running, that they would make $450,000 in revenue from their program sales and such as well. So,
So just out of curiosity, what,
Yeah.
with the various programs that they have,
yep.
what kind of price structure are we talking? What was their,
Yeah, so I think
what
they do
was the
like.
initial cost for them to put, I haven't been there.
Yeah, yeah,
So-
and I apologize because I don't have all of that. I just wanted to give like everybody here and those listening at home just an idea of what are some of the costs that come
Oh, yeah.
through, and there's obviously multiple ways to help pay for those costs. You know, not by direct tax dollars, but from memberships.
Right.
But I do not know. It's been around for about 20 years, so to figure out what those costs were. But I do know like their operating costs, and I could probably find out like square footage and what the cost originally was to build it.
And you know that's gonna be about 10 times more.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
but I'm just thinking those are some of the services that
Today,
that I would envision the town like us would want as well. You know, but I also know like the aquatics, like all those pieces add money. You know, either with
Oh,
staff
yeah.
services or heat and all that great stuff.
I just
So-
got an email from them yesterday that they closed the pool temporarily because they didn't have
Enough lifeguards.
lifeguard shortage.
Yeah, everybody's gone back to school.
Yeah, yeah. So, just in example, but once you figure out their revenue and what their total and indirect costs, it's about 133,000 that they would kind of need from their taxpayer responsibilities to cover it, which would be right now a 61% increase to the budget that we currently have. It's not a huge amount, but it really obviously depends on the appetite of the community to absorb that or take that risk that you can get that much revenue. Obviously, nationally, there's different models. You can try to partner with hospitals, you can try to partner with even the Y to run a fitness piece, or a private business that runs as a fitness piece, or design the building in phases so you can open up
Right.
certain things, or you don't need as much staff because you could have the fitness side of the building open and the gym and the aquatics closed, or vice versa. So there's a lot of different models that you can kind of choose, but again, I'm not trying to ramble, I'm just trying to inform you guys of different things and to kind of give a view of like how different the budgets are. I didn't want to bring you our budget from Brunswick, but this is a similar or
That'd be
closer, even.
discouraging.
Well, it's in our
even
county. It's in the
right,
same county
right.
at least.
But it's a smaller town, but it's a town that's somewhat comparable as far as
Sure.
the amount of services that the town offers.
Yes, but the tax base is completely different, don't you think? Wiscasset than Waldeboro?
It could be. I mean, obviously, I think originally that was built with a lot of tax funds from Maine Yankee when
Right.
Maine Yankee was there.
Would it be possible for us to take a tour of it and talk with people there? I mean, would anybody want to do that? Would there be an advantage to doing that? Because a lot of the questions we're asking you may not have the answers to, but the people who run the place would.
Sure. I mean, if it helped you as a core base of I'm sure Lisa is the director there. She'd be more than willing to meet us if you wanted me to set that
I
up.
would think we'd have to determine what age groups are the ones that we really need to focus on for the rec center. Who would be using it? Our rec center.
Yeah.
And that one's 20 years old, so,
Yeah.
you know, it may not have a pool room, or it may not have pickleball, or it does have pickleball,
Right.
but I just think we need to zero in on what our needs are first before we go looking at what's out there and get all excited.
Oh, sure. I mean, the purpose I brought that up wasn't to say this is what I want. This is
Oh,
what
no,
we
no,
want.
I
I'm
understand
just
that,
saying
yeah.
to use the operating budget of something that could be comparable to
Right,
something that
I
we
understand
we
that.
may want. We may not want those features, or we may not be able to afford those features, or however. But I just wanted to give you and anybody listening at home, like, there is a big difference in your budget. You know, regardless, once you start adding a facility of that size.
This is incredibly helpful because I wouldn't have known any of these costs. I wouldn't have been able to guess what it would cost to run a facility like that. So this is very helpful.
Right.
But it goes back to the question that you said first, which is, what is the appetite for a recreation center in Waldeboro?
Right.
And that goes back to the survey.
Sure, and I think
So-
I think that's what we need to create, or you know, I see Marcus has got this interest survey, and on one side is the programming aspect, and maybe on the other side or another part of the survey would be the need for, you know, an actual facility.
This is what we talked about last time, was sending it home with the kids. I got it drawn up in time, but that was, I don't know if all of you know, that was right around the time I took a 2-week vacation to Maine Med with my newborn son. So it actually didn't go out this year, but we have it for next year, and we'll see where it goes. But
So this hasn't been sent out.
No.
So could we,
Give it out at election, which I think Kelly.
yeah, this was something I created, not so much for a recreation committee or center, but for
The existing programming.
the
that you
existing
offer.
programming that I offer and what, like, just so I could, like, you know, if I send this out and Johnny says, yeah, I'm interested in youth basketball, and then my youth basketball signups come and go, and Johnny didn't sign up, I have his contact info. I can call him and say, hey, I thought you were interested, and try to get some more people that way, because people get busy and people forget when signups happen, especially soccer and baseball, because soccer happens right when school starts and people aren't thinking about soccer, and baseball starts happening when snow's still on the ground and people aren't thinking about baseball.
Well, maybe if this were structured by season then, with the
Yeah.
activities in each season, because then they'd know what they're signing up for.
Yeah, well, this isn't really a sign up as so much just hey, I'm interested in this.
Okay.
It's more of a database
it kinda-
collection tool.
Yeah, gets me their contact info. I was gonna send it out with the paperwork, like the beginning of the school year paperwork, and then if their parents wanted to sign anything, check anything, they could as well.
You could send it out at the beginning of the spring semester, after the winter break. There's probably a whole nother round of,
Could be. I'm
I
not sure.
recall there being a whole nother round of documentation coming home then, in the bottom of my kid's backpack, covered in
No, but
stuff.
getting back to, you know, obviously I think we need to come up with some sort of method to reach the public, whether that be a survey or how we would do that. I think you said there was a grant, I think it's later in the agenda, but we could skip to that if you'd like, the Lincoln County grant.
Yeah, so I talked to Max, who was here last time,
Yeah.
and the deadline for that is December 1st. We have to have at least a plan by then. But it doesn't have to be used, originally he told me it had to be used on architecture or something
That's right,
thereof.
you did, yep.
He said now it can be anything as long as it's working towards a recreation center.
So it could be used for
The
survey.
survey, sure.
We just have to have something written up so that he can give it to the
And
people
how-
at Lincoln County.
What is it, 2,000, I think you said?
2,500, I think,
2,500?
up to, I'm not sure if I
Okay.
don't know if we got the whole amount or how
So
that
we would
works.
just need to have a proposal to him by when?
December
December.
1st, but if we wanted to do this, I'm not sure if we wanted to do this survey around election time, which is,
That was my suggestion, because we could table out
Yeah.
front.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be before December 1st, which I think we could still use the money before then. But we at least have to have a proposal
Well,
to
we
them by
could-
December.
Yeah, we could, with $2,500, we could do a survey along the lines of what was done in 2016 or whenever this one was done, something that's a little bit more robust.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna be doing something just us with no funding, we can do something a little bit lower key that's just designed to gauge, that will help us, that will help inform whatever survey we're going to write the proposal for, that we're gonna use $2,500 to run. Does that make sense? I just stumbled all over my words there.
No, I mean, I think with $2,500, you could definitely either do a mailing, you could do a combination of both.
Exactly.
Some sort of ID so people can vote twice. I can't imagine people would take the time to do it twice, but I mean, the key would be either having some expertise or somebody do a lot of research to figure out which questions we want to ask the people and what type of quantitative format that you're going to be able to dissect that from, like, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, or are they yes or no's? Like, you know, yes or no's can really be weighted on some of the questions, and some of the questions were asked in either a negative standpoint or a positive. So, you know, I'm more in favor of, like, from a 1 to 10, are you in favor of this, or, you know, but that doesn't mean it's the best way. I'm not a survey giver, but, you know, but I want to be able to get some sort of information that we could dissect and come up with, like, this. I mean, this is a feasibility study that they created, and I'm sure they paid
A lot more than $2,500 to have this done.
closer to 20 or 30,000, I bet,
Yeah.
to
I
do
think it
this.
said there on the front, I think.
We did one in
There
Brunswick
did.
for our pool, and it cost us about $40,000. And it came back with a report similar to this that, you know, shows it, and they also came.
Well, they
and
have a-
came and they did different.
They have a
different
college
surveys.
there that
Yeah.
helps
Right.
do that sort of thing.
So,
You know, but this right here, I think, gives you an idea. This is what we already offer.
Yeah.
But this could be expanded, I think, to other interests, and maybe, you know, what are your interests for recreation, not just an indication of this fall or this spring or whatever. But I think maybe expanding this a little and then asking them to turn it in at election day. Somehow getting it out to all the kids and getting
yeah.
I
it.
think that people bringing it with them to the election day is probably not gonna happen.
No?
No, I wouldn't think so. I think what Troy was talking about, an electronic survey, I think is probably gonna get us a bigger return.
Well, you have such an older
We can-
demographics here in
No,
town that not everybody.
I'm not suggesting we do just that, I'm saying we
Yeah.
do both.
I would say that when a group that gets paid to do it, a consulting group, they use different methods they do group studies, they do,
Focus groups
focus
and-
groups, they do somebody standing by the, elections and doing handout ballots or going through them, and then there's mailings
boards and-
that are random selected, so, I mean, for us to do that would be very difficult, but I think this survey here is more of an interest of programs, and it wouldn't really lead us to the feasibility of, could this town support a recreation center? Besides, obviously, my point before is, okay, well, if you're gonna build it, what are we gonna put in it? Besides the building, like, what programs and stuff are we gonna do?
Is EMS in here tonight?
No.
Over in the other part?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I just thought it
Yep.
would start creating the interest for when we did a more major type of survey.
Sure, I'm not putting down your idea at all, I'm trying to think of.
I'm just trying to
Without having
get
to
it
do
off
it,
the
yeah.
ground.
Yeah, no, without having
I'm saying, though,
to,
like, what are we interested, what's the town interested in?
Yeah,
Cards, bridge, pickleball, volleyball,
Yeah.
anything recreation.
right,
But then that's separate from, or can inform,
well, it could help.
right, to the.
It could help lead, like, okay,
Right.
obviously, everybody's interested in swimming and swimming lessons.
Exactly.
You would want to try to add that into, is this a key component that you
Right.
would use?
Or it comes back, everybody loves,
Or would you not?
everybody loves basketball.
Right.
If we ask first, what are you interested in, without saying, are you willing to pay for it? We're going to find out what they're interested in. The second phase would be.
That's what I thought this would do.
Right, I
expand it.
I
That's an
saw,
interesting idea. Just,
They-
yeah, just tell me what you're thinking.
well, but based on what Marcus was saying, I see this is different from what I see these as two different things. This is interest in our existing programming, and
Yeah, I
we're
see
talking
that.
about
That's what
interest
it
in
is.
recreational
That it is.
activities that might be housed in a new center.
So how many surveys did you said, you only said 2,600 surveys out?
There was 2,600, yeah.
And there's a little over 5,000 people in town?
Right, but it could be 2,600 households.
Households.
You know, so they went to each household, I'm sure, head of household, you know,
Do
based
we
on
know what
the-
this costs to do?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm sure we could get that number,
Yeah, I can ask John.
yeah.
So what if we did that, the 2,600 or more, but maybe offered an incentive for turning in your survey?
They can serve on the recreation committee.
Such as,
Such as like,
A donut
We
from
said-
Moody's?
huh? What'd you say?
A donut from Moody's?
Maybe a little bit
There you
more, maybe a little,
I'd fill out a couple then.
maybe a little bit more than that, but you know, just something to incentive that, you know, okay, you fill your survey out, it goes in, we get your survey, your name goes into
A
whatever.
raffle,
A
and you-
raffle,
right.
and then we pull it and you can win X, Y, Z.
A lifetime membership to the supposed.
No, I mean, but at least you'll get more than, you said you'll get more than 199.
Yeah,
a
2,600,
carrot of some sort.
2,600 households are stamped still 46 cents a piece.
Well, and this
Close
was
to it.
by mail. We're talking about doing something electronically in addition
Well,
to.
right, but I'm saying
correct?
if we did this again, like
Right.
2,600,
It's like $1,300 to do a mailing,
Do we
Probably.
have the,
that's just, and, well,
without the printing.
yeah, and if, I don't know if you guys sent like prepaid envelopes to have them sent back. That would double it.
You'd never get them back.
Yeah.
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 do we know if we have enough people on internet here to get it?
Well,
With
that,
the older population?
I'm actually suggesting we do both.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting we do either or. I'm suggesting we do mail and electronic. It'd be the same survey, it's
Yeah.
just two different.
Just-
So we have the chance of filling
Mediums.
out two?
Probably have to be
Well-
some type of name thing on there to.
Yeah, there'd have to be.
Yeah.
Well, with the print, I mean, there can always be an identifying number printed on the top of each survey that's mailed out. Each survey has a number on it. And so when you're getting those back in, but I don't know how you cross-check that with
Right.
electronic.
Well, you could say electronic survey has gone out, those who do not have it can put it up at the town hall.
That, or, you know, what we could do, I mean, we could do an electronic survey first because that's not gonna cost us anything to do it. And we could do that as a basis to then do a print one that would be mailed. I mean, if we could,
That's true.
I don't know what kind of interest we're gonna get. I mean, I don't know, have you guys all been on the Facebook page? Because that's why I put it at the top of the minutes, because we all need to go in and like the Facebook page, because when you like it, Facebook Analytics bump it on up in your newsfeed, so like that Facebook page. But, and I don't know what kind of,
Recreation Committee, not Recreation Department.
excuse me?
Is the Recreation Committee Facebook page?
No, no,
Or
no, this is Recreation
Just
Department.
Is
Did I
the
have
one
the-
that you're doing
You already
already?
like,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, just checking.
yeah, this is,
All right.
You already like.
Thanks for looking at it.
yeah, oh, I put committee, whoops, that's my, oh, yeah, we don't have our own.
so all right, that's what I was gonna ask you. So we have one that says Recreation Committee
It's supposed to
website,
be department, my bad.
and then it says Recreation Committee Facebook.
It's supposed to be department, recreation
supposed to be
department.
department.
Yeah, that was my mistake, sorry about that.
So if you like it, what happens? It bumps up?
Yeah, Facebook Analytics is driven by likes and traffic to the site,
Ah, I see.
so.
All right, so just out of curiosity, what kind of activity do we have, or have we received on the Recreation Committee website?
We don't have a committee website.
No?
I'm sorry, the department.
All right, so the
The committee was
department.
that was the
So-
wrong
so
word,
there's-
the department.
so the-
So,
There's
It's
a-
Marcus's Facebook.
So there's the waldoboromaine.org site that has a recreation department
Page.
page.
Right.
And so how that works is, like, if I want something up on there, I put something together and send it to Liam, our tech guy. He puts it right up on the front page of waldoboromaine.org, and then when it's kind of done being run, it gets put to the rec page. So actually, most of the rec page is kind of out-of-date stuff. All the stuff that's really pertinent to rec in the moment is up on the main waldeboro.org page.
Well, your Facebook site though is current.
And then I started a Facebook page right when I first got hired, and I just kind of, anytime I got something going on where I need people to do something, I kind of throw something up there.
What kind of response? What kind of?
It gets a pretty good response. I have 300 or so followers.
That's not bad.
Any idea
It's-
on the demographics?
It's all probably 99% parents of kids in
Kids.
in
All right,
programs.
so how do we get to
That's
the demographic that
Yeah.
us older farts, I mean, us people can, access?
And
Well-
that might not be through Facebook. That might be another way.
Yeah, because I don't do Facebook.
Right.
Right.
I mean, and
No, I
that's just my own
agree, yeah.
personal preference.
It was a great way for me to get information out to parents.
Yeah.
I do school newsletters still. Like I send
Yeah.
stuff through the school newsletter.
Okay.
I still put it in the paper.
All right, so how do we get to
But-
the other demographics successfully?
For no money.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
emails, I mean, do we have any idea what the demographics might be on how many people have internet access?
Well, they put it all in town, right? Isn't there FiOS all in town or something? Didn't they get it all wired and stuff?
Oh, they're still
for it?
working on it.
Right.
Or they,
I don't know.
Well, I mean, again, if we partner with groups like the VFW and other groups like that that have their own email list, if they'd be willing to add a link to this survey in whatever newsletter they send out electronically by email, a lot of those organizations, if we do the senior groups, for example, that's the target, that's the demographic you're talking about.
Do they have a site?
I don't know. I have no
Does-
idea.
don't think so.
But I'm not-
A meeting, right?
Right, but I'm not even talking about them having a Facebook page, I'm talking
No,
about
no.
their email list.
Email list,
Right,
yeah. I
and
mean-
so they have to communicate with their members somehow.
I don't think that the VFW probably has one.
Well, I just threw that out there.
The
but-
senior citizen
Yeah.
group that most of my bus trip members are from, they meet the first and third Monday of the month, and I don't know that they have any other communication except that they know to show up.
For that group, we
Yeah.
print out our electronic
Right.
survey.
Right, and that's what I
take it
do.
there and
I
have them figure
I
it out.
literally
Right.
take my sign-up sheet for the bus trip
Right.
over to them, like,
Right.
I am here with the bus sign-up sheet.
Yeah, I
Sign
think we're
up.
gonna have to, hit the pavement on a couple of these things, which I'm more than happy, I'm more than happy to drop
Yeah.
things off.
Is there even an active VFW?
There is,
Yeah.
it's dwindling,
I
unfortunately.
mean, no, 'cause I go by there and just, I never see anybody there.
I'm not sure how often they meet, but John Gackham, and then John Blamey was the
Whatever they call it.
commander.
Right.
Well, it seems like we have two things we could work on now. One is designing a questionnaire,
Yeah.
actually three. One is a questionnaire, one is coming up with an electronic means to distribute it, and the other one is coming up with where we're going to distribute it, hard copy and electronically. So if we could divide and conquer.
People gotta eat, grocery store.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hannaford.
Grocery store, well, yeah, Hannaford's and pharmacies. You know, I mean, So-
Again, I think the first, I mean, we've talked a lot about, and that happens at meetings, so it's good, is we really need to devise the actual instrument.
yes,
Hmm.
that's
And
where I was
then,
headed.
from that instrument point of, these are the survey questions, and this is the format and how it's gonna work, it probably should go, and correct me if I'm wrong, it should go to the select board to say, this is what the recreation committee is advising, because I believe we're more of an advisory group, that we would like to have the town send these out in whatever method. These are the questions, and then if they had changes or anything, and then from that point, once you get that back, we then need to implement a plan, either based on the suggestions that we give the select board, or, okay, we'd like to do it electronically, we'd like to do it this way, and it would have a name on it. So, Troy Smith can't vote twice, both electronically and, and to make sure that there's a residents, they're actually residents. We don't want somebody from a neighboring town that may benefit from it, but still taking the survey online. So there needs to be, and there may be tools out there that allow that to happen, but, I mean, that would be
So-
something maybe Marcus could research, or we could research as a group.
Let me understand this. We talk about this part of it as surrounding communities, but the rec center, excuse me, we wouldn't get funding from those other towns to help with this, or what?
I would
No.
say most likely that we would be on our own, but there'd also be a portion of any income or revenues based on non-residents, either whether that be an increased rate. For example, the community I work with, we have a set rate to participate in basketball. And then if you're from a neighboring town, you pay 33% more.
So there's an intra and,
Yeah, non-resident
Yeah.
and a
Non-resident.
resident.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So if you were to have
okay.
so said recreation center
Or
with
summer resident.
so said fitness
price,
center.
Yeah.
Correct. Wouldn't be a summer resident. If you're a resident,
you could
even
be,
if you
have
own,
a-
yeah, or if you
There
own
could be a
land and
rate
pay
for them.
taxes in
You pay-
Waldeboro, you're a resident. Even
Right.
if you live, your main house is in, in Friendship or a different community, if you're paying taxes in Waldeboro, you're considered a resident. So it would be regardless, but those are some different, there's still, when you do a feasibility study, if we were to build a pool, obviously it would be beneficial to surrounding communities that don't have a pool. Would people from Bremen come? Would people from Friendship come? Would
Right.
people come from, from Warren, the far side? All those different places, would have to be factored into that. It doesn't mean that you would survey them to make the
Right.
initial purchase,
Right.
but something that you could kind of consider.
So are you saying then that what we should do first is come up with a list of the questions and send those to the select board without saying, here's how we plan to disseminate it, here's who we want to disseminate it to?
I think-
Questions first, plan later?
Without us spinning around a lot would
Okay.
be to come up with the instrument.
Okay,
And if that instrument requires some sort of vision of what the building is, to come up with like, do you want a gymnasium, would you want those type of things? But the reality is you'd want to get the instrument out, and then you could determine, oh, pickleball's huge. We want to put an outdoor pickleball court, for 3 of those. Or we want to, swimming or therapy pool is big. Then we want to include that.
Indoor walking track,
Those
blah,
type
blah,
of
blah,
things.
yeah.
So then you kind of put the big package. I mean, it's still going to be voted on from the town level if it's, this is our dream package and it's going to be 4 million, and then it comes up to the funding question and the operation questions. But right now, our first goal is just to say, is there an appetite for a recreation center in those instruments to get to that questionnaire? Unless somebody else disagrees.
no,
but-
I don't disagree at all. I'm anticipating questions the board might have. If we give them, here's the list of questions that we'd like to include in a survey. Well, what would the survey look like? How are you going to distribute it? Who's it going to go to? And we don't have any of those answers yet. So if we could,
It needs to be more of a package, like
Well,
you're driving
Yeah,
at,
yeah.
Either-
to give it to the board.
right, so, but maybe for us first, what we come up with first is our draft questions. We could always ask for input from the board. This isn't a formal presentation. We're putting together a package that we will be presenting to you.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, that would be the first, is coming up with the instrument
Yeah,
and our idea of how we would,
distribute it.
distribute it.
And that's what we will be presenting.
But,
to the board.
obviously they'd have to approve to say, yeah.
Of course.
We want Marcus's time
Yep.
to do this, or, even though we've been charged, I can't imagine they would say no, but that would be the proper process.
Okay.
I mean,
So
correct
we-
me if I'm wrong, I don't, and then maybe it's more laid back, but that would be,
Well, and it's possible that we could use some of the questions that were used before and add to those.
sure. I mean, obviously this is a matter of timing.
It's cheap. I mean,
So the first step then, okay, so we need someone to volunteer to do that? Is that what we're looking for?
I would say the first, if somebody that wants to do some research on some different, and I can do some, but I can't.
I can
all.
do some, but I can't do all.
Right.
So I'm happy to,
Say it
I'm happy
again?
to be someone to
So
help.
survey questions that would,
We need to develop, what Troy's saying, we need to develop a list of survey questions. That would be for the tool, the survey tool that we're
Correct.
talking about using.
Yeah.
Is
And
that-
whether it's,
Now,
whether
Yeah,
it's
some
stealing,
of them are right
stealing
here.
some of them from here.
Yeah,
some of them are
exactly.
here.
Right.
Some
Yeah.
of them are, because this we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We
Right.
can
Right.
steal.
Right.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say steal, but.
Right, reuse.
Acquire.
We can-
Reuse, recycle, right?
Acquire.
Reuse, recycle, re-knowledge.
So should we submit them to you, Kelly?
I'm sorry? Whoa, back up. Why?
Well, you needed help in getting questions. You couldn't do them at all, so we're going to funnel them to you.
And I get to put it all together.
Well, you just do that. We send them from you, our thing, you cut and paste.
If it were any other month but October, it's just, I'm happy to do it, but I would be very reluctant to commit to being able to deliver this by our next board meeting, by our next committee meeting. That's all I'm saying, because this is an insane month.
Yeah, I mean, if everyone wants, if that's kind of where we're going, everyone wants to come up with a couple questions. If you want to float them all my way, I can put them together.
Okay.
Like lump the like one. I'm sure there'll be some duplicates. Lump them together and kind of come up with.
Well, when they do it, they reply, they include everybody, in the
Yeah.
email.
Yeah.
So that way we're not duplicating questions, and we also have an idea of what other people have already asked or came up with.
I think, some of these questions are pretty good from the
Yeah.
survey.
Oh, yeah, I agree. That's why I
Right,
said
yeah,
that's
I
what
agree.
And I think we try to hone in on, the community. And I think that's really, that's a driving force, hopefully.
Well, and using the numbers that Marcus gave us today about the interest in the soccer team and the activities that we already offer do give us at least a little bit of a hint of what people like to do, recreation-wise.
Right.
Yeah. So how do we augment that?
Well, I think adopting let's just look at these right here and tell Marcus which ones we all agree on. I think we all can agree on 8,
Number 8
9,
you're talking about?
Q8, Q9, 10, 11,
8, 9, 10, 11.
I would do 8 through 14, all of them.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, I would agree.
So these.
But I wouldn't put anything out there, does Waldeboro need a community center? We're not going that route. We're going.
Would you use
we
this?
We want to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. Would you use this if this were available? Is that what you're saying, Karen?
Well,
So these questions, like number 8, a public meeting space or a meeting space, meeting rooms with audio visual aids,
I don't
etc.
think you need all that, just a public meeting room.
So
And
There should be
it
more
could
of a
be
question there.
It
It's
could be
kind of a
combined
statement.
with 10, because they're both in the same,
Right.
senior activity room, meeting room, those are really one and the same, can be used dual purpose right there.
Yep.
There's some, like I think Jim was saying, there's some good questions, and Karen was saying too, at the back of this Colorado thing too.
Yeah,
Okay, what I will volunteer to do is to go through these and put together something very rough to send out to you guys, and someone else can take it from there and polish it.
Yeah.
Will that work?
Yep.
Okay, and I can probably do that within the next week.
My thought on this.
the way that changed.
Huh? We just gotta get it done. So, yeah.
Marcus had a comment.
So my thought on this 8 through 14 is all the things that you could want in a recreation center. And so I think about, like, obviously looking down at the results, they were overwhelmingly yes, because everybody wants stuff. But if I say, do you want a public meeting space, but it's going to cost you an extra $1,000 a year on your taxes, that might change.
Well,
it.
It would definitely
I
change
think
it.
Like if I put out, do you want a recreation center with no strings attached, everyone's
Right.
gonna say yes.
But the,
So-
What do you
what I
got,
was saying
Trevor?
is the appetite. If we're trying to gauge just appetite.
Appetite.
Yeah,
So-
if you're hungry, you're not asking what the steak's gonna cost. Do you want a steak? Yeah, I want a steak, so let's find out first
Right.
if people want steak.
We need to also inform them.
Now I want steak.
We can't just send them the bill, then
think
people
it-
get mad.
I think it brings up a good point of when you ask yes or no questions, it doesn't really show priority or doesn't show the level of interest. Would you like a meeting room? Would you like, from your level of 1 to 10, don't want it, to think it's the most important
Or
piece,
lump these all
Right.
together and rate them on which
Yeah.
which is your highest priority.
Yeah, I would strongly suggest doing it this way. We have agree, strongly agree, disagree, don't care, whatever.
And here's
That's-
another version from Newport, New Hampshire. It's a community center survey. Does Newport need a new or improved community center? 1, not needed, 2, low priority, 3, priority, 4, high priority. How important is quality recreation to enjoyment of Newport, again, Newport.
I like that.
Is that
You know,
something
so,
could I have?
yeah, so I just pulled that offline today, quickly searching. But I like it because it's quantitative. You
Yeah.
can take
Yeah.
that and you can say the average, or you can say, I mean, if you ask anybody, do you like a pool? They're gonna say yes, and I always think back of like when I went to college, I go, oh, I love that pool, I'm gonna use that all the time. And I didn't go to the pool maybe twice in 4 years, so it's just one of those type of things where you could at least say, for me, a priority would be a basketball court, because I love it, but for you, it may be a walking track, or
Or
it could be,
pickleball.
or pickleball, or something different for each person, but at least you could get an idea
How about a
of.
spa?
Right. But obviously, the more high priorities for everything, the higher the price tag goes for all the options. Just like when you go buy it used to be when you buy a car, different packages.
Forgive me, but I don't know, are people outside of Damascotta allowed to use the YMCA, belong to membership?
Yes.
So maybe one of the questions would be is, do you belong to the YMCA? Do you go to, are there any other recreation facilities that you use?
Yeah.
Did,
I know at least a couple.
the town manager talk with the director over there?
I think so.
Because I know she had mentioned it when I was at a meeting.
Yeah. So,
The
But I
new
mean-
Y is, really, they did a wonderful job. of
That's
redoing
the
it.
thing that we're contending with too. You
Yeah.
have a state-of-the-art location, what,
20 minutes.
20 minutes away? You have another one in Rockport.
Oh, that's right, there's
and that's gorgeous.
And that one's beautiful.
You know,
Yeah.
so,
I've been in that
you know,
one
you
before.
have to kind of be cognizant of it.
Yeah, people
I
may
mean-
say that they don't think there's a need for it because they've got that here.
Right, but there may be a need for a different
A
type
dip-
of.
Yeah,
Right, we don't have to
something-
build a mini Y. We can
No,
build
right,
Yeah.
something
exactly.
Yeah,
different.
that's a really good point.
I mean, there's tons of different funding options and a lot of different partnerships that you can create that could help offset some of the costs. Or, you could even do if you built a building that had a fitness facility,
Right.
you could talk to somebody like the Y to run that component and handle that aspect. Something that they already have staff and cross. I'm just throwing for example, not saying.
No, you farm part of it
But
out.
you could farm some of it out, and then you could close the rest of the
Yeah,
building,
you
or you
could-
could have it open, vice versa. So, or you could talk to the hospital if you're going to put a pool in and you need a therapy pool, and they want to do rehab. And there's a variety of different ways, but I think it still comes down to what does the community want to have in this facility, and then we come up with a price tag, and then you. Just like if you were gonna buy your own house, like, okay, well, I'd love to
How
have a
are we
hot tub
gonna
out
fund
back
it?
and a pool out back, but I can't afford it yet, so, or how are we gonna fund it, or how are we gonna do these things, so. But again, it comes down to the cost, and the first person's gonna say, well, how are we gonna do this? Well, right now, we just wanna know what you would like, and how, and then we can kinda do the feasibility of what we can
What we
stomach
could-
could afford, or
afford
what we
to
could
do.
find to do.
Could we also take a look at the idea of having an anchor tenant,
Correct.
And then,
Yeah, that would be maybe like a second or third phase down the
Well,
road, I think, coming up. But yeah,
depending on,
that's,
Could be a
like,
first phase to
like
get.
you're, like you're
oh, no, I
talking,
meant in the process of getting.
like
yeah,
you're
yeah,
talking
data
about
and
the Y,
information.
or someone, the fitness center down here.
Right.
Maybe they might like to move into a newer facility and they're willing to pay X amount of bucks per month
To lease a space.
to lease the space.
And we're
Which-
still providing a service without passing it on to the taxpayer.
Or the,
Correct.
the people
Besides
who
the
do the
initial cost.
recreation classes,
Studio 3.
who do that, they might
She's
want to.
very good.
Yeah, so.
And
that's a-
then, and you get the therapy place over here, are they, getting squeezed out? You get
She
the
has
other
a
one?
pool in there now.
We're here? Oh, no kidding.
It's a small pool, but
Therapy pool?
yeah, it's
whatever.
kind of like, it's an endless pool.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, so to kind
I'll-
of just wrap it,
okay.
or not to wrap it up, but to move forward from this, we're gonna
Yes.
take this, we're gonna think of some questions, looking at either online, what I had there, this survey, and we're gonna try to formulate a core group of questions that we can put on
Right.
this survey for next meeting, agree upon it, and then at that point, we'll vote or agree to submit this to the select board, and then figure out and come up with some ideas of how we would implement getting these
The survey.
surveys, yeah. Whether it's, I don't, I think your
Is
idea's
there
not
a
bad.
climbing wall on there?
No, yeah, no, I
New
agree,
Hampshire
because
has a
that,
climbing wall?
give them
I
a
don't
little
know.
incentive to
Even if it only
get it back.
Yeah.
5 more
important,
percent,
'cause
you
that's
know,
not-
it's
Yeah,
still,
it's on here.
still that hard to
Yeah,
make
it's
a
on
big
here.
decision on 8% of the population that returned
It
results.
very is.
So what I'll do is I'll pull from each of these three and I'll send it out to you guys. Then you can add whatever questions you want. We'll do all this in advance of our next meeting and then we'll discuss whatever we come up with
Yeah,
at that meeting. Is that
ideally, yeah.
acceptable? Okay.
So what we'll do is
Okay.
you'll keep us in the loop, and between you and Marcus, or Marcus can kind of pull them together, and, you know, I'll throw my input too. But I think we can find, or even look, maybe there's some other surveys that would help too, but we should be able to put that together.
It's a good place. At least we'll have a document to start from.
Correct.
So, okay.
You know, I think it's smart what Gunnison did, where they were able to determine that some of the things, why it didn't fly, was the clincher wasn't there, which was the ice rink and the trails. And then people
Yeah.
went forward. So I think we have probably a similar situation here where people didn't want it, and, or maybe it wasn't presented where it's only gonna cost you 1 cent and then there's a bond or something, and, you know, I think it's all of that, and of course the budget committee will worry about how to present it.
Correct.
Okay. I've got it.
All right, so I think that kind of moves from there. We talked about survey of town interest in recreation center.
That's what we're putting
That's
together.
what we're doing. Lincoln County grant is 2,500. I guess my only question, Marcus, is if you could check with Max to see what would be needed for that December 1st, or whatever that deadline may be. You know, what would be the minimum if we had the document and, you know, maybe we hadn't quite executed it yet, or waiting till the
Yeah.
first of the year, but
Yeah.
we want to print them and get them, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Or pay for an online service that does it, you know. What we would need to do to get that 2,500,
Right.
or close to. Items for upcoming agendas. I think, you know, obviously by next meeting, we're looking at trying to finalize this document. Or this,
Survey
or this,
questions.
yeah, survey tool.
Okay.
So is our next meeting the 24th or the 31st?
The 21st.
21st?
The 4th,
24th.
the 24th, the 4th Wednesday.
Okay.
So I would be unavailable on Halloween, because we do a parade.
I'm sorry, so what, can you say one more time? We're
The
talking.
24th at 6 o'clock.
That's a Monday.
Oh, was it?
No,
Oh,
October.
I'm
No,
sorry,
no,
hold it,
that's
hold
it.
it. No, no,
You're
no.
looking at this month?
You're in
Oop, I didn't hit October.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, because Halloween is on a Wednesday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the following Wednesday.
So all we'll have to do is,
So
at
the
that point, we can,
24th?
yeah. And we may
Wednesday
want to
the
take a look at that for
24th.
November, but, you know, with Thanksgiving or where that
Yeah,
falls.
we need to move that around.
But for now, our next meeting will be on the 24th
All right.
6 o'clock.
at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Does anybody have any other items they'd like to add or discuss?
I want steak
I
now.
I think we really need to find out what's going on with 80 Gray.
Okay.
Because
Yep.
I really like to see that either be
Dead.
dead, so we can
Yeah.
move forward, because it seems like it's just hanging and hanging, and
In order for that to be dead, aren't we gonna have to say, this is how much it would cost to put this facility in that building?
well, there was some.
I don't think they're
Projected-
waiting for us.
I
You
think
think they've already
they made a they made a decision.
They had a couple, last I had heard,
Okay,
so last January, the select board decided to aggressively market the building to be sold
Right.
for this year. If it's not sold by January, they're knocking it down.
they're knocking it down.
The last I had heard, they had 1 or 2 people looking at it, but if those fell through, they talked, this wasn't from the select board as much as it was other people in the office, that they might forego waiting the whole year to knock it down.
Sounds like that's a question for someone on the select board to
Yeah.
answer for us.
Yeah,
Oh, Julie
But
must
that
have
doesn't,
some idea what's
yeah,
going
but
on.
that doesn't keep us from moving forward on this.
Oh, no,
on this,
not at
so.
all.
I
I just don't want to see that keep getting thrown into the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It just,
I mean,
you know,
like I
bracket
said-
it. It's out of here.
I think what Marcus is saying, that the decision may be made for us, because by the time, it'll be November before we can have something to present, just a tool to present to the
Oh,
board.
yeah.
And 2 months after that, they're gonna be knocking it down if
And
anyone's
they-
bought it, right?
they they declined, there was a proposal to renovate it last year, and they pretty much didn't want anything to do with it. I think what they charged us for was to look at new buildings, whether that be at 80 Gray if they do knock it down, or somewhere else, the rec fields or other town property or unbought property,
But
whatever.
there's certainly property down there that, as we all know, that was part of the second and third phase, but,
Right. There's some other issues there, but
yeah,
still.
there's always gonna be issues.
Is that swampy area?
Yeah, it's kind of on the other side of it.
I think again, we create that tool and we
Yeah.
meet with the select board, and if anybody and all of us want to attend, and if they had questions, or we could ask questions about that if,
At
I'm
that
assuming when that comes up,
Yeah.
somebody will ask about 80 Gray.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that wouldn't hurt, but again, I don't think that's 100% what we're charged, and I could be wrong if,
Yeah, no, our charge really didn't say anything about 80 Gray. It
Right.
was strictly the feasibility and desire for a community center.
What does
Yeah.
the select board be?
Every other Tuesday, I don't know, I think they
Twice a
met
month, right?
twice a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
every-
I think it's
yeah,
the second
Second.
and fourth.
second and
I
fourth.
think you're
yeah.
right, yeah,
I
second
think they
and
met.
fourth.
And that's open, anybody can attend that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, 6 o'clock here on Tuesday nights, right in this room.
All right. With that, I take a motion to adjourn.
I motion we adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
Sorry I was late. The baseball teams didn't put the goals
I know, I
and
gotta go.
benches back out on the soccer fields.
Oh, jeez.
Bye, Kelly.